Should the Warriors be in early season panic mode because of their inability to perform at a consistent level?
I think on a scale from 1 to 10, as far as a panic meter is concerned, I'd say it's probably around a 4 or a 5. Granted, we're only in the middle part of November. There's a lot of time for the Warriors to be able to bounce back from this, what I would say is a subpar start. For them to be 6-9 throughout the first 15 games of the season, I think that's definitely an underwhelming result. And that's despite the fact that they're coming off of a championship season from last year. I think when I see it, as far as the issues that seem to be plaguing Golden State at this point, it's really two factors. And Kev already laid one out. One is that their bench is just not producing at a high enough clip to be able to maintain some sort of offensive consistency when the starters come back. And then on top of that, defensively, they are giving up a lot of points. And Golden State has really made it a point of emphasis over the last couple years of being a really solid team as far as defensive efficiency goes. And this year, it just doesn't seem to be the case. When I look at that game against the Phoenix Suns the other night, they gave up 130 points. It's one thing if you give up 100 points. Giving up 100 points in an NBA game isn't the worst thing in the world. But when you're giving up 130 points, you're only 20 points from 150. That's definitely a bad look. And it's even a worse look when you have Steph Curry who's going out there and scoring 50 points, putting the team on his back, and yet you still lose by double digits. So, obviously when it comes to what I would say the overall core of Golden State, they are getting older. This is not Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green of 2015, 2016 when they were just starting to hit their dynasty run. We're in 2022 going into 2023, and I do think that age is playing somewhat of a factor. I don't think it's to the point where this team is just outright regressing because of their age, but I think this is going to be a lingering issue as, the farther we go along with Golden State's really solid core here with Klay, Steph, and Draymond. And we're going to have to see other guys step up. Kev, like you said, Jordan Poole got a huge contract extension. The same goes with Andrew Wiggins. These guys are going to have to be able to play really consistent basketball for Golden State to keep that dynasty going. And I got to see more production. I have to see more production from the bench because when it comes to guys like Dante DiVincenzo, JaMychal Green, Anthony Lamb, these guys are capable of putting up points in bunches, but they have to be more consistent. And through the first 15 games of the season, they just haven't been able to do that as well as they should have. I'm not saying that, this season is going to be an absolute wash for Golden State. This team is not going to make the playoffs. It's way too premature to say that. And I'm not going anywhere near that type of rhetoric at this point. It's way too early to say that. However, there are some issues that have to be taken care of. One is their overall defensive efficiency, and two is their bench. If they're able to address those issues as we go into what I would say the second quarter of the season, I'd say that probably starts in December. Then I think, Golden State will kind of get back into a groove, get back into a rhythm, and then probably start to, reinsert themselves as one of the better teams in the Western Conference. So, all things considered, things could be a lot better in Golden State. They're not off to a great start, but do I think it's all doom and gloom and they're going to miss the playoffs? No. I still have faith that Steve Kerr is going to be able to coach his team effectively. And when you got guys like Steph, Klay, Draymond, Andrew Wiggins, and Jordan Poole, it's really hard for me to bet against those guys in the long run. Maybe in stretches they might fall short here and there, but I think for the long term, I think they'll be okay. Definitely some issues that need to be addressed, though. I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Kyle already mentioned a couple of different things after I had made some points of my own. The biggest thing I'm looking at, dude, Klay Thompson, where the hell are you? You might be averaging 15 points a game, 35% shooting, 33% from the three-point line. Like, where's that defensive capability? Devin Booker cooked you the other night. You're not being able to play both ways. You're not shooting at an efficient clip. For God's sakes, when you play against good teams like the Cavaliers and you go 3 for 13, you play against a bad team like the Kings, you go 6 for 16. The Kings again 6 or 18. Like against the Magic, 10 for 24. How are you going to be regarded as one of the best two-way players in the game and one of the best snipers from the three-point line if you're putting up numbers like this? Like, it's not consistent. I don't know if something's going on where he had a long off season. He's still recovering from an injury. I don't know. There's no excuse that's going to be good enough for me to give Klay Thompson a pass. If Steph Curry's going out there and he's putting up fucking 50 points in a loss at the age of basically 35, why the hell can't you give him at least a consistent 20 ball? Why can't you give him a better efficiency from the field? Why can't you go out and if you're not having a good offensive night, why can't you go and guard one of the better players on the opposing team? Jordan Poole goes and gets a bag. He's averaging 16 points per game, shooting 42% from the field. And we all know the defensive liability that he is from the field. There's nights where he has 30 points, and there's nights where he has 9. There's nights where he has 36 points, and he has 11, and then 2, and then 2, and then so on and so. Like, he had one big night against the Spurs for 36, and at the beginning of the year, on October 30th, he had 30. Since that point, he's had 9, 11, 22, 18, 18, and then that 36-point game. He is the most inconsistent player for somebody that just received a massive bag. Unacceptable. I think that Bob Myers made a big mistake in not re-signing some big players and giving some of these players more money than they needed at this point in time. I'm not saying that Jordan didn't deserve it, but we needed to keep a core in terms of like for the Warriors, you needed to keep that core together so they can repeat, so they can be competitive because of the defensive unit that they lost. And here we are. You got an athletic wing and DiVincenzo, cool. You got a physical guy that's behind Draymond Green and Jermichael Green, cool. Toscano Anderson, a good guy off the bench. He's gone in LA. Great. GP2, one of the best wing defenders out there. He's in Portland. I understand the premise of what Bob had to do, but this is what happens when you have too many good players on a team. They're going to search for a bigger contract, and if you're not willing to give it to them, this is what happens. At the end of the day, the Warriors are not looking too well, but it is the beginning of the year, so I'm not going to sit here and say like their panic meter is like an 8 or a 9. I agree with Kyle, it's like a 4 or 5, especially because slow starts don't necessarily mean a whole lot, especially before the All-Star break. It's usually the hotter team that goes into the postseason that makes a run. But we've seen Golden State struggle in the past. They always find a way to turn it around when it matters the most. It's just a matter of where are they going to get support that isn't coming from Steph Curry. So Golden State needs to pay attention. They have adjustments to make. Steve Kerr said it best. They got a lot of heads down right now, and they're looking to feel sorry for themselves. Nobody in the league's going to feel sorry for you. When you play like shit, teams are going to play you 10 times harder. You're also the defending champ, so teams already want to come and knock you off of your high horse. So they just got to turn it around. They'll figure it out.